Hi everyone, it's Katrina. From scalding hot river water to the resurgence of an ancient flesh-eating disease, here are 7 mysterious discoveries that were made in the forest. Number 7. Wessie. In June 2016, police in Westbrook, Maine spotted a huge, possibly 10-foot-long snake slithering near the banks of the Presumpscot River and feasting on a beaver. The elusive reptile was dubbed Wessie and inspired a throng of aspiring snake spotters to begin searching for it. 2 months later, an unusually large snakeskin was found near the river, drawing the attention of national media outlets such as CNN, USA Today, Boston Globe, and the Huffington Post. Wessie's skin measured 12 feet 1 inch in length, and its diameter was 4 inches at its widest point. These dimensions verify that Wessie was likely 9 to 10 feet long, since a shedding is typically longer than the actual snake. It was later determined that the skin belonged to a green anaconda, a tropical species that is native to South America and one of the biggest snake species in the world. While it couldn't be proven that the shedding belonged to the same massive snake police had observed months before, it's a distinct possibility. It's likely that the snake's owner released it into the wild, but since it's illegal to own an anaconda in Maine, nobody has fessed up to the deed. Wessie hasn't been sighted since the discovery of the snakeskin. According to Derek Yorks, a biologist at the Maine Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife, the snake probably died sometime before October that year due to its inability to handle the cold weather in the region. Number 6. The boiling river. In the heart of the Peruvian Amazon, there's a steaming river that kills nearly everything that enters or falls into it. Its waters are shockingly hot, sometimes reaching the near-boiling temperature of 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Until recently, the story of the river was just that, a mere legend, unproven by science. In 2011, a National Geographic young explorer and geophysicist named Andrés Russo, whose Peruvian grandfather had told him about the river, set out to explore it for himself. When Russo had asked experts from the government, the academic community, and oil and mining companies if the river might really exist, their responses were hard no's, and one person even told him to quit asking dumb questions. Since volcanoes aren't known to exist in the river's vicinity, rumors of its existence had long been written off as a myth by scholars and professionals. The undeterred young man decided there was only one way to glean the answers he wanted, by doing his own hands-on research. As Russo and his guides neared the river, he noticed vapor coming up through the trees. The hot, rushing river was guarded by a shaman. After following the river upstream, Russo discovered that it was sourced from the mixture of a hot spring and a cold stream. Upon making his tea with the conveniently hot water the next morning, Russo discovered that the water was clean and pleasant tasting, which are odd characteristics for a geothermal system. Russo received permission from the shaman to study the river and spent several years analyzing water samples and visiting the site. During a TED Talk in 2016, he revealed some of his amazing finds. The sheer size of the river is one of its most fascinating features. Along most of its path, the river is wider than a 2-lane road, and for nearly 4 miles, it runs hot. What's most mind-blowing about the river is that it's located 434 miles away from the nearest volcanic center. He has been unable, throughout years of research and consulting experts, to find another non-volcanic geothermal system as big as the boiling river. There is also a stationary cloud that hovers above the river, but its significance is unknown. Russo and his colleagues have also discovered new life forms living in and around the river which are tolerant to its extreme temperatures. Number 5. The Lost City of Giants. In 2012, a ruined site known as the Lost City of Giants was discovered deep in the Ecuadorian Amazonian jungle. The ancient city is just one of many that, according to regional folklore, was built by giant beings. Explorers were led to the megalithic site by locals who had been familiar with the ruins for quite some time. Of the various massive stone structures at the site, the largest was an irregularly angled and steeply inclined 260-foot-tall pyramid that was also 260 feet wide at its base. The oddly shaped pyramid was constructed using boulders weighing at least 2 tons. Many of the sharp-edged and seemingly hand-sculpted stones used to build it are perfectly aligned. At the top of the pyramid, there's a polished stone that is thought to have been used as a sacrificial altar. The stones are held together by a thick, impenetrable material, which some researchers believe was the first concrete-like material used in Mesoamerica. Several tools that are far too big for human use, including oversized hammers, were found among the ruins. To some, including researcher and author Bruce Fenton, who was among the team of researchers to first explore the site, these unexplainably large tools are proof that the structures on the site were built and occupied by prehistoric giants. In 2013, the Ecuadorian Ministry of Culture sent representatives to the site. They determined that the pyramid-like structure at the site was somehow formed naturally and is not man-made. Did giants roam the earth once upon a time, as Fenton and many others believe? Or did natural phenomena give the structures at the site uncharacteristically human attributes? The mystery will remain unsolved indefinitely, as government-funded excavations and site preservation have been ruled out as potential options. Number 4. A flesh-eating disease. The lost city of the monkey god, or La Ciudad Blanca, was discovered in 2011 in the Mosquitia rainforest of eastern Honduras. The commonly accepted theory for the desertion of the city by the Aztecs in 1520 is the onset of a flesh-eating disease among its inhabitants. World-famous author and explorer Douglas Preston was part of the original team of researchers to travel the site. The team was pretty excited to find the ancient city in the first place, especially after coming face-to-face with a venomous snake, being stalked by hungry pumas, and almost drowning in quicksand on their way there. Not for the faint of heart. At the site, the researchers found sacred objects that had been hastily buried by the city's residents before they fled. But their biggest scare occurred when they realized they'd contracted the flesh-eating disease. It's not the big things that will get you, it's the things you can't even see. Several weeks after the trip, Preston and half of his team members noticed that they had bug bites that weren't healing, and some of them were having difficulty swallowing. The National Institutes of Health eventually diagnosed the ailing researchers with a parasitic disease called leishmaniasis, which is transmitted by sand fleas. According to Preston, the parasite migrates to the mucous membranes of your mouth and your nose and basically eats them away. Left untreated, the victim can then expect their nose and lips to fall off and for their face to become a gigantic open sore. Luckily, Preston and his colleagues received treatment before any horrible disfigurement could take place. However, while Preston responded well to the treatment, some of the team members have needed it on an ongoing basis, and one of them ended up with a severely damaged liver. As intrigued as I am by the prospect of undiscovered ancient ruins, after learning about this team's experiences, I've become strangely comfortable with being an armchair explorer. How about you? Number 3. An ancient Mayan city inhabited by millions. In early 2018, an alliance of American, European, and Guatemalan archaeologists working with Guatemala's Mayan Heritage and Nature Foundation announced the discovery of approximately 60,000 previously unexplored Mayan buildings in the Petén region of Guatemala. Included among the buildings are defense structures, pyramids, canals, houses, and industrial-sized agricultural fields. This discovery indicates that the region was inhabited by millions more people than previously estimated by researchers. According to Marcelo A. Canuto, a professor of anthropology at Tulane University, that is 2 to 3 times more than people were saying there were. In some places, as much as 95% of the available land was cultivated. The Mayans used surprisingly sustainable farming techniques, including draining swampy areas that have since been considered unworthy of cultivation. Moreover, the advanced nature of the structures indicate the presence of a large, state-directed, highly organized workforce. Thanks to jungle overgrowth, most of the buildings have been hidden and therefore well preserved. The site was discovered with the use of an advanced mapping technology called LiDAR, which stands for light detection and ranging, and reveals contours hidden by dense foliage by bouncing pulsed laser light off the ground. Of the discovery, Canuto stated, "As soon as we saw this, we all felt a little sheepish, because these were things that we had been walking over all the time." Number 2. Underground medieval cities. In 2016, near the ancient Cambodian temple city of Angkor Wat, archaeologists announced the discovery of several underground medieval cities that have upended previously scholarly understandings of the history of Southeast Asia. The cities, which are between 900 and 1,400 years old, were detected using LiDAR, the same technology I just told you about that helped researchers find the ancient Mayan ruins. Some of these ancient cities rival the size of the country's modern-day capital. According to the analysis of some experts, the cities, which made up the Khmer Empire and peaked during the 12th century, may have constituted the biggest empire on Earth at that time. They also possessed elaborate water systems that were built hundreds of years before historians thought the technology existed. While the remains require extensive research, researchers can agree on one thing: the discovery has turned their understanding of the ancient world upside down, Charles Higham, Southeast Asia's leading archaeologist, had this to say: "Personally, it is wonderful to be alive as these new discoveries are being made. Emotionally, I am stunned. Intellectually, I am stimulated." Number 1. Sigiriya. Located in the central province of Sri Lanka, Sigiriya is an ancient fortress complex dominated by a 660-foot-high column of rock that was formed from the magma of a now-extinct volcano. Surrounding the complex are gardens, ponds, canals, alleys, fountains, and a network of fortifications. The ruins of a lavish, once-thriving palace can also be found here. Sigiriya was originally used during the 3rd century BC as a monastery until King Kasyapa took it over as a royal residence during the second half of the 5th century. That's going really far back. When the king died, Sigiriya resumed its use as a monastery until it was abandoned sometime during the 14th century. Numerous historically significant frescoes depicting nude women, thought to either be portraits of priestesses or of Kasyapa's wives, cover the western wall of the ancient palace. There is also a mirror wall which was once polished enough for practical use and contains ancient inscriptions from as far back as the 8th century. Sigiriya's landscaped gardens are among the oldest in the world, and the site was constructed using impressive technology that was far ahead of its time, and remains a standing tribute to some of the most impressive urban planning, horticulture, and water engineering of the ancient world. Thanks for watching! Which discovery was your favorite? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Bye!